Now, what about morality? Let's talk about morality for a little bit. A lot of people are confused about morality. What is morality, and why do people get morality so wrong? So actually, the human mind and ego has different stages of moral development that it goes through, from very low levels, crude levels, unconscious levels, to the highest levels, which is basically what I've been talking about here. So at the lower levels of morality, morality is basically based on punishment and reward. For example, little children to behave in moral ways, to follow rules, and to be nice to others, not to bite their friends and their siblings. This is sort of the early origins of morality in children. How do you get children to obey these rules? It's simply through brute physical reward and punishment. If a child is biting his sister, you maybe smack him over the head if he's biting her to get him to stop. And you smack him hard enough and he'll stop. Why? Because the pain and suffering of the smack on his head is going to be worse than the joy he gets from biting her. And then over time, he'll learn to stop biting her. And then, as he matures and grows up and develops a little bit more, then he internalizes those rules and he develops a little bit more autonomy. Now he doesn't need to be literally physically punished. He can just be kind of threatened. And he can be threatened with not even physical violence or pain, but oftentimes just with a sort of a look of disapproval. Or just because he knows that, his friends will see him in a bad light. Like, you're in school. Why don't you just take a dump in the middle of the classroom? Even though you might want to, because, it takes more energy to go to the bathroom. It would be easier just to take a dump on the desk, on the teacher's desk. Why don't you do that? Well, because there's going to be so much disapproval. Peer pressure comes in here. There's going to be so much disapproval and humiliation and embarrassment from all your friends and colleagues and teachers who will look at you and think of you as a monster, basically. And you don't want to be thought of as a monster. That doesn't sit well with you. So you learn not to do that. And so that's sort of the next stage of morality, is where your morality is not based on physical punishments and rewards, but it's based more on how well you're going to fit in with your peer group. And this is a lot of what morality is for many people who are at spiral dynamic stage bluish. A lot of religious fundamentalist type people. For them, morality boils down to basically just being good conformists to their society or community and not sticking their neck out of the herd too far for fear of it being chopped off. So it's that kind of conformist morality. Then, and this morality is usually based on rigid black and white rules of do this, don't do that. This is the 10 Commandments idea. And these sorts of people tend to really believe in this idea that there's an objective, absolute right and wrong in the universe. And of course, for these people, it's very sad because these are the most religious people. And they're so passionate about God and so forth, but actually they're completely incapable of understanding what true goodness is. They're completely incapable of understanding God. Precisely because they're not actually contemplating the nature of existence for themselves, they're just following rules. And following rules doesn't lead you to absolute good. It actually has the opposite effect, which is why these religious people, religious fundamentalists, are some of the most violent and evil people that have ever existed. They love to do genocide and they love to subscribe to nationalism. They love to have a superiority complex about their culture, their religion, their worldview, their ethnicity. They love to judge, even though the Bible tells them not to judge. But they do it anyways because they can't help themselves. Because true morality is a function of consciousness. You can't really fake true morality. Your consciousness determines it. Your level of moral and cognitive development determines it. If you're not able to grasp the relativity of reality, there's no way that you can truly be moral. Because you're going to be stuck in your own perspective, in your own biased worldview, in your own selfishness. And you're not going to acknowledge the validity of all the other worldviews and perspectives that are out there. All the other religions, all the other political parties, all the other ideologies, all that stuff. Right? You're going to think that yours is the best. So the next level of morality comes when your morality is based on principles, more so than hard and fast rules that you read in a book that you take literally. So here, the principles become more like, treat others the way you want to be treated. That might be a principle, the golden rule. There might be other principles of truthfulness and honesty and compassion and whatever else. And these are principles that you're not just following a prescribed, rigid set of formulas, but rather you're intelligently trying to apply these principles in various kinds of messy situations. Within moral philosophy, there's a whole slew of these sort of edge case examples where there's these little thought experiments where you say something like, well, if there's some sort of, we caught a terrorist and he has the codes to a nuclear weapon that's going to explode in 10 minutes. What do you do with this terrorist? Can you torture him? Is that moral? Or do we have to just let him, we don't torture him. That would be the more moral move. But then, a million people will die when this bomb goes off. Like, what should we do? And the questions are deliberately, the thought experiments are designed in such a way that they're deliberately very kind of gray areas. So there's no clear right or wrong answers. And that's, in these situations, the sort of stage blue people who have a rigid morality, they're not able to cope with these situations very well, which leads to evil. Because any finite attempt to formalize infinity is going to, by definition, lead to all sorts of problems and evil. And it's done for selfish purposes. So if you truly want to be moral, what you need to do is you need to have enough flexibility and open-mindedness such that, and consciousness and intelligence and selflessness, lack of bias, such that in these situations, you're able to adapt very fluidly and you're not hindered by any kind of rules or shoulds, but actually you look out for the greater good of the entire whole. And you need to have this very holistic perspective, not just the perspective of your little tribe, family, race, corporation, group, political party, nation, or species, or whatever. You need to truly be able to take a perspective that is beyond your species, beyond your tribe, beyond your nationality, beyond your gender, beyond any of these things. And then you will be able to be the best that you can be. You will be more godlike. So the ultimate morality is a state of such radical high consciousness and complete neutrality and complete lack of self-bias and complete lack of personal agenda that and a perspective that is so broad that it encompasses the entire universe, such that you're able to see the relativity of everything, of all perspectives and all beings, and you don't get stuck on selfishly defending any one of them. And then you're able to make decisions and act intelligently with balance, in perfect alignment with what is necessary for the advancement of the whole universe.